Have you ever met someone who felt too smooth? Like they always knew exactly what to say, exactly how to act, exactly how to make people like them. And somehow, every situation always ended up benefiting them. You walk away thinking, wow, that person is really smart. 3 months later, you're doing favors for them, defending them in arguments, emotionally exhausted, and somehow they still look like the victim. Congratulations. You may have encountered Machiavellianism, also known as the human version of terms and conditions, because by the time you realize what happened, it's already too late. Before we start, if you enjoy videos about dark psychology, weird human behavior, manipulation tactics, and the absolute circus known as modern society, like and subscribe. Check out my channel too. I make videos about dark psychology topics like silent treatment, trauma bonding, narcissist versus sociopath versus psychopath. The term comes from Niccolò Machiavelli, an Italian philosopher from the 1500s, who basically wrote the world's first Power for Dummies handbook. His most famous book, The Prince, which can basically be summarized as, if morality gets in the way of power, maybe morality needs to sit this one out. And honestly, corporate executives everywhere read that book like, write that down, write that down. Now here's the thing, Machiavellian people are not obvious villains. They're not walking around petting cats in dark rooms saying, excellent. No, that would actually be easier. Real Machiavellian people are usually funny, charming, socially intelligent, emotionally controlled, and terrifyingly patient. They don't punch walls, they don't scream, they don't lose control, because emotional explosions are for amateurs. These people operate like psychological snipers, quiet, precise, patient. A normal person gets mad and sends an angry text. A Machiavellian person? They'll wait 6 months, smile at you the entire time, then destroy your reputation during a casual group dinner while pretending they're just concerned about you. That's elite-level hating. Most of them don't even see themselves as evil. In their mind, people are just tools, connections, resources, opportunities. You see friendship, they see networking. You see love, they see leverage. You see emotional bonding, they see, ah yes, future advantage. It's LinkedIn energy, but in real life. And these people are insanely good at reading others. You know how some people hear, I've been stressed lately, and they respond, I'm sorry you're going through that. A Machiavellian hears that and thinks, interesting, emotional vulnerability detected. Bro is analyzing your trauma like it's stock market data. And the crazy part, they're usually very likable at first, because they study people. They know what makes you insecure, what makes you feel important, what you secretly crave, and what emotional buttons to press. Some people flirt naturally. Machiavellian people flirt strategically. There's a difference. You'll hear them say things like, wow, I feel like nobody understands you the way I do. And your brain goes, OMG, soulmate. Meanwhile, their brain is basically, target trust level increasing. This is why people often don't realize they're being manipulated until way later. Because manipulation in real life doesn't look like movie villains. It looks like attention, validation, charm, confidence, and emotional intelligence, at least at first. And oh, these people love mind games. Passive aggression? Absolutely. Guilt tripping? Gold medal level. Silent treatment? Professional league. One of their favorite moves is making you feel guilty for reacting to their bad behavior. For example, they disappear for 3 days. You ask, hey, where were you? And suddenly they hit you with, wow, I didn't know you were this controlling. Bro, what? Now somehow you're apologizing. That's not communication anymore. That's psychological jujitsu. Another classic move. They create emotional debt. They do one nice thing for you. One. And suddenly it becomes, after everything I've done for you. Sir, you bought me fries in 2022. Relax. Machiavellian people are patient. That's what separates them from impulsive, toxic people. A narcissist wants admiration now. A psychopath acts recklessly now. But a Machiavellian? They play the long game. They can pretend to care for years if there's a reward at the end. That's terrifying, because they understand something most people don't. Control is more powerful when it's invisible. These people treat life like chess. Every conversation, a move. Every favor, a transaction. Every relationship, a strategy. You think you're having a heartfelt conversation. They're calculating probabilities. You're talking emotionally. They're collecting information. You're bonding. They're building leverage. Honestly, talking to a high-level Machiavellian person sometimes feels like accidentally entering a job interview you didn't apply for. Now, to be fair, not all Machiavellian traits are bad. Some of these people become excellent negotiators, incredible leaders, calm decision-makers, strategic thinkers, successful entrepreneurs. Because being emotionally controlled can be useful. The problem starts when empathy disappears, because then people stop becoming humans and start becoming chess pieces. And if we're being honest, modern society kind of rewards this behavior sometimes. Corporate politics, basically the Olympics for Machiavellians. Reality TV, a wildlife documentary about manipulation. Social media, an entire ecosystem built on image control, influence, strategic attention, and emotional engineering. Honestly, some influencers could sell water to a fish. Psychology groups Machiavellianism into something called the Dark Triad, the three horsemen of toxic personality traits: narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism. Narcissists think, I'm better than everyone. Psychopaths think, I don't care about anyone. Machiavellians think, how can I use both of these idiots to get promoted? They're the planners, the strategists, the ones quietly watching the room while everyone else is busy talking. And here's the most dangerous thing about them. They rarely look dangerous. In fact, they often look composed, intelligent, charismatic, successful, intelligent, charismatic, successful, emotionally mature. That's why people trust them, because confidence feels safe, even when it absolutely shouldn't. You know that person who, somehow, always wins, never looks guilty, always has an explanation, always controls the narrative, and somehow leaves every conflict looking innocent? Yeah. That person might not just be smart. They might be running a full psychological campaign. And honestly, the biggest weakness of normal people is assuming everyone thinks like they do. Most people believe, if I'm honest with them, they'll be honest with me. A Machiavellian hears that and thinks, outstanding, free information. That's why these people can be so dangerous in relationships, because manipulation doesn't always feel toxic immediately. Sometimes it feels exciting. Sometimes it feels addictive. Sometimes it feels like, wow, this person really understands me. Until one day you realize you've lost confidence. You overthink everything. You constantly seek their approval. And your emotional state depends entirely on their mood. At that point, you're not in a relationship anymore. You're in customer service. So how do you spot a Machiavellian person? Look for patterns. People who constantly manipulate narratives, never take accountability, weaponize guilt, change personalities depending on who's around, gather personal information strategically, and somehow benefit from literally every situation. Especially the ones who are too smooth, too perfect, too socially calibrated. Because real humans are awkward sometimes. Real humans mess up. Real humans lose emotional control occasionally. But Machiavellian people? Sometimes it feels like they rehearse the conversation beforehand. And the funniest part? A lot of them genuinely believe they're smarter than everyone else. Which, to be fair, sometimes they are. But eventually, most manipulators make one mistake. They underestimate people. Because once someone finally sees the pattern, the entire illusion collapses. And suddenly the mastermind just looks like an emotionally unavailable chess addict. So next time you meet someone who always says the perfect thing, somehow controls every social situation, makes people feel emotionally dependent, and treats relationships like strategy games, be careful. Because you might not be talking to a friend. You might be talking to a professional power gamer. And bro, there's a decent chance you're just a side quest. I'm Sticks to Code. Subscribe and support the channel if you enjoy this kind of content. Bye-bye.